All right, today we're cracking open case file number 6. We're going to run a full forensic audit on what the source material calls stratospheric aerosol geoengineering. Now, the file doesn't just describe a program, it indicts it as a global weapons system. So let's just dive right in and examine the evidence piece by piece.
So, right at the heart of this whole thing is a massive disagreement. You've got two completely different stories. The official narrative says those long, lingering trails you see crisscrossing the sky are just contrails, harmless frozen water vapor from jet engines. But the indictment we're looking at, it says, no way. It claims those trails are proof of a secret, three-pronged atmospheric weapons system that's already up and running. Our source basically calls this the biggest lie of our time.
Okay, so to really wrap our heads around how serious this accusation is, the source material says we first need to establish precedent. The core idea here is that controlling the weather, weaponizing it, that's not some sci-fi movie plot. It's a documented military science. So let's take a look at the history, the stuff that's actually been declassified.
Yeah, this kind of thing is not a new idea at all. The source points to two really important declassified operations. Back in 1947, you had Project Cirrus. They were trying to weaken a hurricane, but instead they accidentally steered it right into Savannah, Georgia. It was a total catastrophe, yeah, but it proved one thing. You could steer a hurricane. Then fast forward 20 years to Operation Popeye during the Vietnam War. The U.S. military used cloud seeding to make the monsoon season last longer over the Ho Chi Minh Trail, basically turning it into a swamp to disrupt enemy supply lines. That's when weather warfare went from a theory to a very real operational tool.
Now, you might think a program this huge, this insane, would be impossible to hide, right? Well, according to our source, the most damning evidence isn't locked away in some classified vault. It's actually hiding in plain sight, right in the public archives of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
And this is where it gets really interesting. According to the file, the key thing here is intent. In 1990, a major defense contractor, Hughes Aircraft, filed this patent. And look what it says. It's a method for spraying metallic particles like aluminum oxide from jet engines. Now, the stated goal was to fight global warming, sure. But what you're looking at is basically a detailed engineering blueprint for the exact activity being called out in this indictment.
But wait, it gets even more direct than that. This right here is what the source considers to be the absolute core of its evidence. It's a U.S. Navy patent from 1975, number 3899144, and it's for something called powder contrail generation. It literally describes a device for releasing powdered particles from a plane, specifically designed to create trails that are, and I'm quoting here, visible for a prolonged period of time. Sound familiar?
And this patent, well, the case file flat out calls it the official confession. The source argues that with the United States Navy itself patenting the technology to create long-lasting, powdered trails from the sky, the debate over whether it's possible is over. The only question left is why.
So yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? Why? Why would anyone deploy a program on this kind of global scale? Well, according to the source material we're looking at, the answer isn't just one thing. It's a multi-front attack. A trilateral assault on the entire biosphere designed to achieve three very different strategic goals all at once, using just one weapons system.
So these are the three pillars of the indictment. First, biological warfare. The claim is the program is delivering toxic heavy metals like aluminum and barium on a massive scale to weaken public health. Second, agricultural warfare. By changing the pH of the soil, it makes it harder for normal crops to grow, creating a dependence on patented, aluminum-resistant GMO seeds. And third, electromagnetic warfare. And this one is the most out there, building a conductive grid in the atmosphere for advanced weapons and total weather control.
Okay, stick with me here, because this is probably the most complex part of the whole indictment. The source claims that by spraying the atmosphere with all these conductive metals, the program is actually creating a giant, invisible grid, a smart dust grid. This grid then allows powerful ground-based transmitters, like the HAARP facility up in Alaska, to literally heat up sections of the atmosphere. And by doing that, they can supposedly manipulate the jet stream itself, steering droughts, floods, and storms with military precision.
And all of this brings us to the final, chilling verdict in the case file. The source material wraps it all up with this one single statement, which kind of says it all. The sky is no longer the sky. It is the largest and most ambitious weapons platform ever deployed. It's an idea that completely reframes what we're looking at, not as benign vapor trails, but as an act of undeclared war.
So we end right where the source material does, with a question aimed directly at you.
After laying out the history, the patent trail, and this whole three-part motive, the indictment basically hands the final verdict over to you, the observer. They told you not to believe your own eyes. The question is, what do you see?